friends, it's Cassie, and if you watched my last video, I just did a haul, but with a haul, I mean I needed more room on my shelves, so I thought I would do an unhaul video of everything I have gone through, picked out, and will be sending off to the used bookstore or to Salvation Army or somewhere to get rid of them because I just really don't need them on my shelves anymore. So these are in no particular order. And I have quite a few here, more than I thought I would, so I'm going to go through and we're going to get rid of some books. So the first book is one I was gifted when I was really into Twilight, which was fine at the time, and I did finally get around to reading this, and it was okay. It was better than I had expected it to be, but it was basically a Twilight remake sort of thing, like, you know, young girl sent away to live with her grandmother, that sort of deal. So as far as I'm concerned, like, I'm never going to pick up the rest of the series, so I don't think there's a point in me keeping this on my shelf. The next book is one I got on sale, and that's pretty much the only reason I bought it, and it was Haven by Christy Cook. At the time when I had bought this, again, I was really into that kind of supernaturally otherworldly sort of stuff, so I had picked this up, but it's been sitting on my shelf for so long, and I still haven't read it. I can't see why I'd all of a sudden pick it up now. I've never been super interested in it. I just remember picking it up at the time. I thought it sounded interesting. It was never one that I'd heard good things about or anything. So for that reason, I'm going to get rid of this one as well. The next one is one that was a splurge buy, literally just because it was on sale, and it is One Kick by Chelsea Cain. And upon further research into this one, it doesn't look like the ratings are very good on it, and I just kind of, I don't know, I don't really feel the need or want to read this anymore. It's just kind of been sitting on my shelf and I don't really care about it. I keep buying new books and skipping over reading this. So again, just like the last two, that is why I'm getting rid of this one. I bought it and I shouldn't have. The next book is actually one I did read and I did enjoy a bit, and that is Born of Illusion by Terry Brown. And this book, it was okay, and I mean, I had some good fun with it, but it wasn't great, and to be honest, I haven't seen the rest of the series anywhere because this book has been out for a while. So I'm probably not going to pick up the rest of this series. At one point I had intended to, but I don't really care to follow it any further than this book. So unfortunately, this one, I thought about leaving this on my shelf because I did kind of enjoy it when I read it. But like I said, if I'm not going to pick up the rest of the series, I don't think there's a point to keep a book that's just okay on my shelf. So I'm gonna get rid of this one. The next one I'm getting rid of, I know it was relatively popular in some groups and a lot of people like this author, and this was the first thing I had read by him, and it is Darren Shan's Zombie. But I just really didn't like this. There was nothing about it, like I read through it really quick and I just did not care for it. I'm not sure if it was the writing style or the storyline or what. I just didn't care for it at all. So for that reason, I'm going to get rid of this one, despite the fact that I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people out there who like this. I know when I'm perusing through YouTube, I've seen like this series of this on people's shelves. So hopefully in giving this away, someone else will pick it up who enjoys it. But for me, it just wasn't my cup of tea. So I'm going to get rid of it. The next one is another popular novel that a lot of people seem to be liking. It was turned into a movie and everything, but I just didn't care for it. I thought the character development was really poor in it, and the storyline wasn't anything spectacular to me. And that was The Maze Runner by James Dashner. And for me, like I said, it didn't really do much for me. And I know there's a whole series on this, but I didn't think the characters were developed at all. The movie is completely, well, not completely different, but there are a fair few differences between this book and the movie. But I wouldn't even go see the other movie, so I'm not going to keep this in here. I think this even still has, yeah, it even still has like the sticker and stuff that came in it. So I'm really not going to do anything with this book. There's like little pictures and stuff in the middle from the movie filming, but I just really didn't care for this. I'm not going to pick up the rest of the series, and I really didn't like the characters in this one, guys. The next one I picked up because it sounded interesting. If you guys don't know, Supernatural is one of my favorite TV shows, so I really, really love supernatural stuff, and I saw this, and at the time I didn't realize it was part of a series. and that is The Curse of the Wendigo by Rick Yancey. I did read Rick Yancey's Fifth Wave and quite enjoyed it, but I just don't see myself getting around to this anytime soon, maybe someday in the future. But I haven't heard a lot of like stellar things about this, so I don't feel bad getting rid of it. I've heard a couple good reviews about it, but for the most part I've heard people say they just couldn't get into this series. So for that reason, I think I'm going to put this one down, even though it looks really cool. It looks like it might have been promising. So I got it on sale anyways. That's what the little marker means at the top. So whatever price I paid, it wasn't full price. So in the end, if I do end up coming back to this series, I'm sure I can find another copy on sale too. So the next book is actually one I read like 3/4 of and then put it down and never picked it up again. And that was Outlaw by Angus Donald. And it's supposed to be a Robin Hood novel, and that's why I picked it up, because I'd seen a couple of the Robin Hood movies and stuff and really enjoyed them. And I was like, oh, a book, that might be good. But unfortunately, in reading this, it wasn't really about Robin Hood. It was about this kid whose mother gave him up to Robin Hood because he had done something bad. I can't even remember what it was anymore. But I do believe this is a series as well. It was okay. It really just wasn't what I thought it was going to be, so I never picked it up again. And to be honest, I think I would have to read the whole thing over again, and I remember it just wasn't that exciting that I feel the need to read this all over again. So for that reason, I'm getting rid of this. So the next book I'm getting rid of is off the same sale table as my last two splurge buys there. One Kick and Haven, and this is Dreams and Shadows, and it was a splurge buy as well, literally because it was on sale, which is not a good enough reason to buy books, guys. Do not buy books just because they are on sale. I have learned that when I went into a buying frenzy when I started reading again. It's just not worth it. But that being said, I had been really interested in this one when I had read The Dust Jacket, and now it's been sitting on my shelf for at least 2 years. And I've gone back through and read The Dust Jacket, and I just don't feel as intrigued by it anymore. So I think I'm going to get rid of it. It's just, I don't know, I'm not feeling the draw to it anymore. So I think I'm going to get rid of this, and hopefully someone will enjoy it. The next book I'm going to get rid of is one that I have already read as well. And it was okay, but you could tell it wasn't a super I don't want to say super talented author, but it wasn't a super publicized author or anything like that. It's an indie novel, The Red Queen Dies, and it's by Frankie Y. Bailey, and it was a murder mystery, and it kind of takes place a little bit in the future, but just the way the book was structured, it reminds me a lot of like those cheap ebooks you get, you know, where it's like the author's trying to be sneaky and stuff, so they put in stuff that they just don't answer, and in the end it just confuses the reader. That was kind of the same deal with this one. And I know there was promises in the end of solving some of those things in the next book, but this just wasn't a good enough mystery novel for me, especially after I had read some more mystery when I first dove into it. I'm just not going to end up going back to the sequel of this, and on top of that, the only place that I could find the sequel was on like Amazon and stuff, and I just can't be bothered to order it, wait the 2.5 weeks it takes to get up here, and then take time out of my day to go to the post office and pick it up because it can't fit in my P.O. box. The next one is one that was gifted to me again in that Twilight time. So some of these have been sitting on my shelf forever. And this one, my mom's elderly friend bought it for me, and I think she thought because I was into vampires and stuff at the time that I would really enjoy it. But it is very much like a romance novel, and I really don't plan on reading it. And it is Embrace the Night by Amanda Ashley. I mean, I've thought about reading it, but then I read the back again because I'd never really bothered. And I just don't think I'm ever going to get around to this. I'm kind of over the vampire thing. If a good vampire novel comes up, I'll read it. But vampires, I'm just not super into anymore, so I don't see this being read anytime soon, and I probably won't fall in love with it if I do. So for that reason, it's gonna make room for new books. The next one is another one I have read as well, and it is a true crime novel that my grandma gave me, and it is Murder Most Foul by Max Haynes, and it is basically just a bunch of cases and stuff. This one in particular is Crimes from Canada because I live in Canada, go figure. But it's crimes from Canada and around the world. So I think most of them are actually in Canada, and the only thing, some of them were kind of cool, but the only thing that really drew me in about this one that I thought was interesting was I was actually talking to my mom on the phone, and I was like, yeah, this is a book I'm reading. It's kind of cool because, and I told her, I'm like, yeah, there's a murder in here that had happened in your hometown. And she's like, oh, really? And I told her about it, and I guess she had me on speaker because one of her friends was like, oh, I knew that person. And I was like, oh shit. So that was kind of cool. I was actually able to make like a connection. My mom's friend had actually worked with the lady, and then she had gone like missing, and they found out her nephew, I think it was, had killed her and buried her in the backyard. So yeah, that was kind of cool, but otherwise it wasn't anything spectacular. And I know this is in my unhaul, and I'm still really tempted to not let this go because my grandmother gave it to me and she's no longer here. Even though it's not a good book, I might hang on to it yet, but I'm really torn because I know I'm not going to read this again and it's taking up space. So I might keep it for that reason, but if it didn't have that sentimental value attached to it, I would probably just get rid of it. So I wanted to include it just because. The next book is another one that I read all the way through, and I picked this one up because it is a beautiful cover, and it is The Night Guest by Fiona McFarlane. And honestly, like, look at this cover. It's all like shiny and beautiful, and the back is just more. And basically I was drawn into this because the description is really what drew me in. So basically it's about a woman, she's widowed, her kids are grown, and she starts seeing a tiger come into her house, and it's kind of, she's on her own, she sees the tiger and she's afraid that this tiger might hurt her, and it ends up being not what I expected at all. This kind of ends up being an elder abuse story, and it was a little bit sickening. Like, it was a bit of an eye-opener, but it was a really slow book, and I can't see myself reading this again. So despite the fact that I'd love to have this beautiful cover on my shelves longer, because it's just copper, and like the colors are beautiful, the artwork is beautiful, I just don't care enough about it for it to be there. The next book is literally the most hated book on my shelves right now. And I don't like to say that lightly, but I really did not like this book. And it is Tumble and Fall. And this is one I picked up because, again, I thought the artwork was beautiful, and I was trying to get into more contemporary reads. So I thought it was really beautiful. It's two people lying on some grass. There's like little, I don't know what they're supposed to be, stars or ashes or something falling down around them. And then the back is like their two hands holding. So basically, as you can see, this story is an asteroid is destined to hit Earth that is going to destroy Earth. It will be the end of life as they know it, and this follows the last week of like 4 different characters. But the problem with that is this book, I thought it was going to be exciting. We were going to have some last hurrahs. It was going to be, you know, like, it sounds interesting. In less than a week, a mile-wide asteroid named Persephone will hit the planet. Its course cannot be altered. Catastrophe is unavoidable. What happens now that the countdown has begun? And it's kind of, I was expecting some more last hurrahs, and it was really slow. It switched perspectives a lot, which was really difficult because I didn't feel connected to any of the characters at the end of this. And the way it ended, I was just kind of like, really? Like, that's it? There wasn't anything grand. There was like no last minute romance. There was no like spectacular discovery. There was no like super risk taking or anything to, like, I don't know, like do that last thing you wanted to do, like, I don't know, find cliff diving or something. But there wasn't any of that in here, which is kind of what I thought it was going to be, and it wasn't, and it was really disappointing. And I really, really do not like this book. I do not like the characters. I do not like how it ended, and I didn't much care for the writing style. So this I have literally shoved behind other books on my shelf because I don't care if it has space. So I am getting rid of this, and this is probably the only book on my shelf that I would absolutely recommend people don't read, because I really did not like this. Like, really, really did not like this. The last 3 books I have in my stack here may surprise some people. But basically, this is not a favorite series of mine, and the only reason I got all the books was because I was trying to get back into reading, and the first book caught my attention, and I did enjoy the first book to an extent. I thought it was good. I didn't think it was great, but I carried on the rest of the series because I had managed to get through it, and it was the first book I'd gotten through after like years of not reading. So I got the rest of the series, and unfortunately, the last book is actually, I think, really good. Most people hate it, but I will be unhauling the rest of my Divergent series. Divergent I actually have on ebook, so I don't have a physical copy of it. But Insurgent, like, I couldn't tell you what happened in this book. I don't remember. Allegiant, I can tell you some of what happened, but I think this is the best book in the series because I really think Tris is a Mary Sue, and I talked about that in my unpopular opinions tag. But I mean, there were some good things about the series. I think I rated this whole series like a 3. It just wasn't my favorite. I've got so many more great books that I've read now, and I don't even have the complete series here, so for that reason I'm going to get rid of it. And I had thought, because I had heard she had originally started writing Divergent in 4's perspective, that this might be a little more interesting because 4 seemed to be a very interesting character, and this was okay, but it wasn't anything spectacular. So I'm not going to just keep Allegiant on my shelf for no reason. So all of these are going to be unhauled. I think maybe if I was a little bit younger, I might have enjoyed them a lot more, but I don't know. Like I said, I really thought Tris was a Mary Sue character, which is really disappointing because I think there were some really interesting supporting characters like 4, but I guess 4 wasn't really a supporting character, but you know what I mean? Like, there were some interesting characters in that novel, and I thought it was really unfortunate that Tris just came across as a Mary Sue to me. From reading this series, all I remember, like, her only flaw was that she was divergent, which wasn't a flaw, and that she had shot her friend and, like, couldn't pick up a gun anymore. But that's not really a flaw either. I feel like that would be most regular people in society. So I just didn't really feel like she had any flaws, and she just kept defeating things and defeating things and defeating things. So I was very happy with how the last book turned out when that finally started to change and we finally started to exploit some of Tris's Mary Sue-ness. I really enjoyed it, and I was happy with how she finished that out because that's how I think it should have been from the beginning. So for that reason, I'm going to get rid of these because I just really don't enjoy them, I think, as much as other people do. And this is a nice hardcover threesome here that someone, hopefully a fan, will enjoy when it shows up in the used bookstore. So with that being said, guys, that is all the books that I am unhauling from my shelves. I'm gonna have to reorganize my shelves now to find room and reorganize for all the new books that have basically been like these ones, just chilling on top of other books. So hopefully now I'll have some room to put new books in and reorganize my shelves. I might do a video for that as well. Thank you for watching. Also, let me know, how often do you unhaul? Because I feel like I haven't done a book unhaul in a very, very long time. So how often do you unhaul? Like, do you unhaul on a regular basis? Do you unhaul only once it's like apparent that you have no more room and you can't buy another shelf? Let me know, and I'll talk to you guys later.